Okay. I'm hoping this doesn't have an echo right now. When I tested it, it didn't. Sorry about that on the last one. Today's topic is America, not the band, not necessarily the continent slash like hemisphere of continents. Mostly like the country, but some of this will extend to the entire um, like Western Hemisphere landmass. Um, so this is a very controversial, dividing topic. You know, um, America is pretty much undoubtedly the most powerful nation in the world. Militaristically, culturally, uh, economically. I would our GDP might be lower. Is it lower than China? I don't think so. It can't be. I think that we probably have the highest GDP. Should I look it up? Okay, I'll look it up to not spread misinformation. Um, let's see. Wikipedia. Okay. Okay, yeah, it is the United. Ours is almost double China, and then the next one is Germany, and Germany is like 1/4 of China. So yeah, we are the most powerful country in the world. My understanding is that there's a type of ubiquity that comes with America because I people online I've seen like complain about like American stuff like infiltrating everywhere and like being forced down their throats and the internet being like widely American centric. When you have something such as this, you're gonna have polarizing and sometimes extreme opinions and a lot of people with opinions. You're gonna hear a lot of stuff about it. So I want to talk about what I think because I think a lot about America because I love place. So we're gonna make like a sort of pros and cons thing. I think this will be good. So we'll put pros here uh, and cons here. So my qualifications are I was born and raised in America, though I did leave the country one time. Um, but apart from like a 12-day stretch, it's all been America. Um, and I love America and I hate it, but we're going to talk about that. And some people have one time I was criticized for being like this person acted like I was kind of like mindlessly just praising America and hating Europe, which is just not true. Because there's this kind of idea in the progressive internet, I think, that America is just bad, and to have any positive opinions of it is wrong because it's like it is, it's that's like the doctrine of the progressive internet. It's like you're supposed to want to move to Europe, and you're supposed to say like that Europe is a utopia, or that like Japan is a utopia. Um, I don't know if people say that about South Korea because I think South Korea is like people might be aware of like I my understanding is that it has a kind of Americanized culture, um, and so in that way it's not like because it's like the I think the commercial aspect is commercial like consumerism aspect I think turns people off. But I'm not an expert on Korea. That's not a dig at Korea. But anyways, so let's talk about should I do like one pro, one con? Okay, we'll do it that way. No, because I don't know which one I would start with if I do them all in one go. We could start with the cons, maybe. We'll just do the cons. Okay, I like that. And I might actually change. Sorry, I might change the placement of this. I think this should actually go there. We should go like this. Kind of just love me. I should be like, yeah, I should be like some kind of instructor, a teacher of some sort, or the professor, because I just making stuff like this is so fun, to just make a diagram of something. Anyways, so we're doing cons first. Uh, so the first con is uh, we'll make this smaller. Maybe just this one. Oh, okay. Economic uh, immobility. Um, then slash inequality. Okay, so it is just true that the United States has worse economic mobility than other quote like first world Western nations, aka when people say that it basically means just the non-poor European countries and Australia. I think normal. I mean, Australia is Western, not geographically, but and like New Zealand, I guess would be in that too, and like Japan is not Western, but it's like economically, it's in the quote unquote first world category. So that's what people mean. The economic mobility in America is just bad. I don't have statistics like this for other countries, but I know that in America, if you are say born into the lowest quintile, like your parents are in the lowest quintile, it's like a 40% chance that you're going to stay in the lowest quintile, and then something like a 30% chance that maybe you'll make it to the second lowest. That's pretty bad. The American dream is fake. Meritocracy is not true. If we actually lived in a meritocracy as like the American dream kind of, you know, as the American dream kind of tells us, then you wouldn't see much if any correlation between someone's parents' income and their adult income, because it should just be based on this individual, has this skill set, and because of or the whatever. There might be some, because maybe like there'd be like learned, like maybe if your parents are like lazy people, then you will be like a lazy person. I don't think that hard work makes you rich, by the way, but so there might still be some correlation, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as strong as this, because I don't think like is like something like intelligence really genetic at all. I'm not sure about that, but anyways, so the economic mobility in America is quite bad, and that's not good. And then inequality, America does. I don't have a number to give you on this, and I apologize, but I do know though that the inequality in America is worse than the other countries in the group that I mentioned earlier, and unfortunately, one of my favorite things about America kind of directly leads to this, and I'll talk about that in the pros section. I'll wait. That'll kind of be in the middle. Should I add like a both? No, I'll just whatever. I'll just draw an arrow to show this in both later. But we'll talk about it in the pros section. Okay, the next con that I'm going to put that I don't really care about, but some people care about. This will be like, how do I want to put this? Okay, so the first one doesn't really matter to me, because well, both of these are wrong, but, well, no, wait, I'm not talking about what people say about America, I'm saying the actual cons, so I shouldn't put that one, but this one, yeah, so I'm not even going to put this. What I was going to put is like a lack of, quote, history, because I know some people go to Europe and they're like, oh, I love all the old buildings and stuff. Then in America, like, the buildings aren't old enough. But to act as though, the American continent doesn't have like a rich and storied and ancient history is just, that's just disregarding the thousands of years that Native people lived on this continent. And while I understand it's not exactly the same, because at least in the East, in the humid, wet East where I live, barely any structures have remained that the natives made. The only thing that you could call a structure would be mounds. Ohio is, of course, home to the. I was gonna draw it out. I'm not going to, because I want these videos to be like visually interesting, but whatever. Ohio is, of course, home to the One day maybe I'll get a big whiteboard, record in front of that. That might be better. The Serpent Mound. The Serpent Mound is it is granted some kind of superlative, like maybe longest, biggest mound in America, or biggest mound east of the Mississippi or north of the Rio Grande or something like that. So there are remnants of these people here, but I do understand that it is, it's maybe less cool to think about, to hear about, like, oh, they had kind of nomadic societies that traveled seasonally. They would put up a wigwam. The wigwams, I can talk about this topic kind of at length because I did an internship about this topic where I actually worked with this guy who builds wigwams in a supposed to be as traditional, like accurate way as possible. But basically, you'd have like a community of, I don't know, let's say less than 100 people, but more than 20, something like that. And they would travel. It could be twice a year, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe once a year, but they were generally nomadic. They would travel like with the game and whatever as the seasons changed. And they would have like the group of all the men just like start putting up these structures, and they could make a wigwam in like a week. And by the way, a wigwam is not like a teepee that the Plains Indians had. Teepee is a lot faster to put up. A wigwam requires, man, I wish that I had a graphic. I was making like a 3D model of this once, but a wigwam requires, a stone. There are different types of wigwams, and then some of them had like longhouses which are different, but I mainly just know about wigwams. The wigwam has, let's draw a picture, and then I'll delete it later. Or maybe I won't. So, how do I want to do this? I will do kind of like a side view. So the wigwam has like a wall of stone, and this is like in a circle with an opening for the door. And then the wigwam has a mound of dirt that's kind of like this. Oh, okay. And this can be pretty big. And then the wigwam has I want a different brown. Let's see. Okay, that should be the dirt brown, but anyways, that's fine. And then, man, I haven't thought about wigwams in a while. And then they have, the limbs of the trees that go up here, and the way that this works is basically, I'm gonna do, well, I can just do it on this. So these are like 20-foot poles that are very, okay, if you're just one soy guy like me, they're pretty heavy to kind of lug them back to where the wigwam is. But so first they put like poles like this, and they would tie them with like sinew up at the top. All of this would be made with sinew, not like nails or screws or whatever. And then you have to find, so these are straight poles, and then you have to find bowed poles to go around like this. And then you just continue to make a grid, like kind of, you're making kind of like a spider web, I guess. You continue to make a grid of smaller and smaller ones. And then, once you've done that, you have to have all this dried grass. We'll use green because it's, yeah, whatever. You have to have all this dried grass, and you get it into these bundles. And there's different types of grasses you can use, but normally the top part of the grass, whatever is going into the air, should be facing downwards. Is that right? Yeah, it faces downwards, so that like the rain like rolls off of it correctly. So then you have to like cover all this, and it's like a lot of work versus what the Plains Indians do with their teepee, which is like, bam, create this. And then they just put like, I feel like they normally have like red markings on them. I'll just draw like red, and then they put like a cloth thing on it. Because the Plains Indians were much more nomadic than in the East, like the Hopewell culture people. Because the Plains Indians, I mean, they're just like following buffalo herds, right? And the Plains Indians, they invented like this. This is just completely off topic, but they invented this type of fire. So what you do is, this is like the ground. Do this, okay, and here we go. This is kind of like this, okay. This is actually not very good of a drawing, but and then you have like the fire, like the wood here, and then when you like, this is fire. Then when you blow like wind into here, you know, fire loves air, and it makes the fire way hotter. And with that, that's how they were able to like, what is it called? Like, I'm using the word cook pottery. What is it called when you make pottery? I don't know. But so all this to say, there is. Can I not just like automatically delete this all? Here's what I'm gonna do. Check this out. Okay. There is history here, so that's not a real con. What other cons do we have? Okay. This is a con that I think is like not as bad as like maybe Europeans think, but it's still not good. Oh, okay. Cultural homogeneity. Okay, so if you're in the UK, right? My understanding is that you can drive like 15 minutes and the accent will be different. Maybe it's not 15 minutes, maybe it's an hour. I don't know, and the accent will be different. And of course, in mainland Europe, most of the time you go to a new country and the language is different. There's probably like bleeding of the languages. Like Switzerland has like Italian, French, and German. It kind of just all bled into Switzerland. They have some Swiss language too that I forget the name of. It might have a Z in it. Those are like, because I think there's 3 national languages of Switzerland. It's German, that one that I don't know the name of, and I think it's Italian. I don't think French is like a national language, but I think on the western side of Switzerland there's enough French speakers that it's like notable. But in America, of course, we mostly just have English, and in the East, and even worse in the West, the type of, you know, the dialect and the accent is homogenous, in a way that maybe is boring, but I think that a lot of people think that, you know, I think that language is a kind of superficial way to look at cultural diversity, because you know, language is like one of the 5 like pillars of culture. Let's see. So we got language, symbols, values, artifacts, and what's the last one? Because it's kind of like values again or something. You know, I've taken sociology classes, but I don't remember. I must not pay well enough attention in my classes. But anyway, so language is an important part of culture. But I think when people say like, when it's not a real reason to say that a place has no cultural diversity. Because yeah, it is true. So within Ohio, apparently, Columbus people can tell if you're from the Northeast, but we can't tell if they're from Columbus, like from their voices. That's kind of a funny thing. But I mean, even within Ohio, which is a small state geographically, we're like what, the 32nd largest, the 34th largest, something like that. We're in the 30s for largestness. Our southeastern, like West Virginia border area, it is different. You know, they say like Ohio instead of like Wash, they say Warsh or whatever. You can tell when someone's from there. And by the way, leave a comment down below. How do you... I'm like enamored by this fact lately. How do you say this word? I say this word like vehicle. But people have told me now that this is like not normal. So one guy said, if you say vehicle, you're a hick. And it turns out that apparently this is like a West Virginian like way to say it. So leave a comment down below. How do you say that and where are you from? Okay. If this reaches a wide audience, then maybe we can get some data on this, because I never realized that people don't say vehicle. Um, I don't know. Anyways, what was I talking about? Homogeneity, right? Okay, but nonetheless, it is true that differences are milder. So if I go to, let's say I go to New York State. New York State does not border Ohio, but it's what, 2 hours from me. You just have to go along. You just go up to Ashtabula, go along the coast of Erie County, Pennsylvania, and you're into Ashtabula is about an hour away. So whatever an hour plus the width of Erie County is, Erie, Pennsylvania County, that's how far New York State is from me. And it's like, okay, in Western New York, I think if you're not familiar with either of these places, you might not be able to notice differences. But it's like, I don't know. There's definitely differences in attitudes. There's differences in the way things look and the way cities look. And I think in New York State, for some reason, their like city street, their city street speed limit is like 30 instead of 25. Like, there's just little stuff like that. Or in New York on the highway, there's a lot of these signs that be like state police this way. Like, why do we need to know? Or like in Pennsylvania, they have on the highway, they have all these signs that say like blue detour, orange detour. I spent most of my time spent in other places is spent on the interstate, so I mainly know about that. But there are differences. What I will say though is the West. I've not really been to the West. I've been to Devil's Tower, Wyoming. That's as west as I've gone, and that is west. But I only was in Wyoming for like maybe, I don't know, 3 hours maximum. And then otherwise, I was in South Dakota on that trip. South Dakota is definitely more western than Ohio, but I don't know if it's like a western state. It is, to me, west of the Mississippi is western. I don't know if that's radical, but I'm trying to put on a hat of reasonability here. And, you know, I understand that South Dakota is kind of the Midwest. I was in the Black Hills, which is not the Midwest, but, you know, most of it is the Midwest, which is not the West, but it used to be the West. And I, you know, in that way, I live in the past. I live in a world where Ohio is almost like a frontier still. That's where I am in my head. But anyways, in the West, let me pull up an incredible image for you guys. I used to look at this website constantly. I'll put a link to it. I'll write the link here in a second. Okay. This is like just one guy's website. This is just like this guy's website, and he loves dialects and stuff. This is the website. I've spent so much time on here. It's a great website. But if you look at this, the different colors, so there's all these different lines that show like little differences. Also, this is like, you know, it's kind of blurry because I sized it down. But, you know, like you can see here, within North Central, which is part of, you know, the North, which is all the green, there's like the Iron Ranges right there. And fun fact, I always thought that Bob Dylan was like a LARPer, like a working class, vaguely Southern LARPer with his stupid voice, and which made me hate him. But it turns out he's from the Iron Ranges, which is like there's like a mining area of Minnesota, and that's how they actually talk there. They have a strange accent, and you can see like, yeah, in Ohio there's like a lot of different lines, and somewhere in here is like the Pin-Pen merger. Where exactly is the Pin-Pen merger? I think it might be kind of diagonal. I don't see, whatever. But you see how it's different over here? We got a lot of stuff. Look at this. Look at this. San Francisco has its own thing, the Midland. But I'm sorry, but look at this. Isn't this depressing? And the reason that this is because when the West was colonized by the Western, the white man or whatever, a lot of this was done in a time where there was like faster transit and transportation, and because of that, it's not like cultures got to establish themselves longer before moving on to the next place. It was kind of like all the same people went throughout this whole area, and that's why this is like this. But it's still it is kind of depressing, and a really sad thing. I'm gonna put this a map here too. Uh, and this is like, I probably all the people I talk to are annoyed that I bring this up so much, but it is important. By the way, I think this map is like, I don't think the minutia of this map like we should buy exactly, but this map. Oh, sure, be that small. Okay, this map. So let's look here. 1947. We have, like, in terms of population, these three regions are probably similar. And, that's a beautiful thing. And then there's also, like, a few weird ones, like apparently in Boston they say tonic or whatever. But it's like, that's nice. Look at what has happened. Do you see what has happened? I know that New York was a soda place too, but I attribute this to California because I think the influence of New York was already established at this point, and then whereas like California, I think in the mid-century, California became like fashionable, like and all the Californian media. I'm thinking until the mid-century, maybe the dominant force was like the East Coast, but then in the mid-century was the West Coast, and it probably has stayed the West Coast. Maybe it switched places a few times, like maybe the '90s was like a New York time. I don't know. But anyways, the Californians worship homogeneity, and it is disgusting. Californians are happy that this has happened. I don't know if they're joking when they say this, but how is this a good thing? I understand that you guys think that pop is a stupid word. I don't think it's stupid. I know it's an onomatopoeia, but come on. There are other words, certainly, that come from, like, the sound they make, right? Like, I feel like the word, like, murmur, like, that's got to be based on the sound, right? And we don't think that's stupid. But seriously, this is just depressing. This is, we already... we already came in decimated cultures, and now we're doing it again. When will we learn? Stop it. Like, mass communication has been a disaster for, cultural diversity. And so this is just a sad thing. I think everywhere in the world is probably becoming more homogenous, but I think in America it is probably worse than almost any other place. And I think that holds true. That might be even truer in Canada, man. Like, I think Quebec is significantly different. Well, we have places like Quebec. Like, we have, like, the French Quarter or whatever. Like, wait, so the French Quarter is a part of the city, and then the part of the state is, like, it's called Acadia, right? I'm not a Louisiana expert, but, we have places like that. But so that is a bad thing. Okay, the next thing, which maybe should have come first or at least second, conservatism. And yeah, I'm gonna put my next one so that I don't forget it. Okay, foreshadowing. All right, conservatism. So the current state of America is rather conservative. Apparently, like, I think there's going to be a blue wave in 2026 November election. I predict that Acton will win governor. And I think across the country, red states are going to elect blue governors and senators and stuff. Not like all of them, but I think it's going to happen because the conservatives, they're just like bad people, right? And so now that we have like the gas price thing, they're turning on Trump, and it's like, come on, you should have done this a while ago, but whatever. So I think that there's gonna be, I think, and by the way, I'm not like an establishment lib who loves Democrats, but I am a firm believer in lesser of two evils, and I think undoubtedly, I think undoubtedly the Democrats are the lesser of the evils here, because it's like, not only like, the Democrats are still, controlled by like lobbyists and stuff, and they still, they love stuff like Israel, but at least they aren't like hurt, at the least they aren't being as bad to like minorities domestically, so it's we have at least that thing, and the Democrats are more environmentalists than the Republicans, so there's at least two ways that the Democrats are tangibly less bad. And if you are someone who doesn't vote for either, I can't vote for either party, you elected Trump. And if you think that things um, if you don't think that things would be less bad under Kamala, I don't know. I feel like they definitely, um, I definitely think that they would be, but it's just whatever. Uh, I don't know who the Democrats are gonna bring for the 2028 election. I think we need someone kind of underground. We got to do talent scouting. Um, Anyways, I digress. America's very conservative, culturally, economically, of course. Um, our social, the welfare state is to be lacking in this country, and I'm kind of trending towards like anarchism lately. But as long as we live in like a rigid system, where we have a government, we the welfare state should be larger. Because it's just like there's all sorts of stupid stuff, like the poverty level in America is placed um, way too low, that kind of thing, and it's like and we need like the maternity leave stuff, all these sorts of things, and so that kind of sucks. What I will say about the conservatism part is, okay, I live in a red state in a red county. Before Trump, my state was purple, and apparently for a little while, like for a few decades, my county was blue. That's what Wikipedia says. It was like a blue county. But we've gone for Trump every time. I think maybe in 2012 we didn't go for Obama, but anyways, we are a red county right now. Even despite the fact that we have the third largest university in the state, that being Kent State. And a lot of people, woke people are moving to Kent, right? But even with that, yeah, we're just a red county. We'll see what happens this time in 2028. And I prefer to live in a conservative area, I think. The ideal place to live is conservative red county in a blue state, because conservatism is like linked with lower population density. Wait, let me put this. The things that I love but admit are bad, I'm putting the ellipses around that. Ellipses. This is going to be a positive too. Oh, yeah, so I'll just put the things twice. So I'll put my other thing. What? Okay. I don't understand. Like, the text is weird in this. Okay. Is it an E or is this an A? Dependent. Dependent. No, okay. I got it. I know how to spell. I used to when I was a kid, I was good at spelling, but then I kind of realized that, because I don't know, maybe I just got the IQ lowering disease. Well, wait, I don't wanna equate spelling to intelligence. But anyways, whatever. But I think that, prescriptivism is lame, and if you spell things wrong, that's okay, actually. And grammar doesn't matter, whatever. All this stuff. But anyways. So next. Okay, yeah, so conservatism, it's just there are some laws here that are, is terrible. And there are some ways, I won't deny the progressive internet people. Not that the internet progressives. That's more what I'll call them. The internet progressives. No, I'll call them the internet liberals. They're libs. I don't want to give them the more kind term of progressive. They're libs. The internet libs. I will give them this. That, yeah, I mean, there are many ways in which socially, culturally, Europe is more progressive in a good way. But there's also things culturally that are worse about Europe. This one is also kind of a con, and it kind of goes along with these three ones. So I'm just gonna here. It's a con. It's a pro and a con. Okay. So now we're gonna talk about these individualism ones. Um. So America has a very like our culture. You know, we're big proponents of freedom, like Freedom Township and Ravenna. I mean, Jesus, Freedom Township in Portage County. I was such a Ravenna nationalist for a second that I thought the whole place was called Ravenna. That was awesome. But no, Portage County. No, we have Freedom Township, and we love freedom. That's just kind of like that's like the American thing, freedom and individuality, and the right to bear arms, First Amendment, Second Amendment. That I wasn't saying the right to bear arms was the First Amendment. That was like right to bear arms, comma Second Amendment. But anyways, and in a way, these have been bad because they. Okay, riddle me this, viewers. Is it decentivize? Oh wait, no, it must not be. It must be this disincentivize, right? Because it's incentive. Okay, maybe I don't know. It disincentivizes the aforementioned like welfare stuff, like nets to catch people. It disincentivizes that because it's more of like and it's tied to the American dream thing. Let's put this really quick. This is important. American dream is fake / royal scam. Okay. Anyways, so how these three contribute to individualism. So Protestantism, all these are ellipses because I love, in my soul, I love these things, but I recognize that there are issues with them. So Protestantism is it causes it because it has less of like the hierarchical nature of Catholicism, and it has it doesn't have there's not as much of like the unity. There's not one guy in charge of the Protestant church like there is the Pope, and it's just kind of like these sort of attitudinal differences lead to the individuality. Like, what is that book? What is it called? The Protestant Work Ethic? Yes, by Weber. It's kind of about how I had to make sure that's the title of the book because it's kind of a lame title. I thought there might be a more interesting one, but yeah, it's by Weber, and basically the idea is like Protestantism is more of like in the individuals or an individual community, and it's like it gives people this attitude of working hard personally to achieve success, versus the Catholic Church, which more instills people with the idea of like an entire community works together, and like stuff trickles down, you know. And so because of that, that is kind of where that is part of the American dream, the Protestantism. I'm not being very articulate about this because I think a lot about religion, but I'm not like super technical about it because I'm not a nerd. Maybe I should be more technical about it. I should know more, but I'm just so I apologize for not being as articulate as I could be. But yeah, I mean we have like there's kind of I think let's think about like stereotypes of well, okay. Here's an issue. It has come to my attention, it's been brought to my attention that the connotations of Catholicism and Protestantism vary wildly based on where you are. To me, Catholics are like snooty white people. Apparently, in a lot of places, like large cities in the South, Catholicism is associated with like Hispanic immigrants. So this kind of means that my correlations will not be, they will not be globally relevant, and I apologize for that. I can only speak from the perspective of someone who's spent most of their time in Northeast Ohio, in a small town, not even in Cleveland, not even in Akron or Youngstown or Canton. I'm just when I am in those towns, I'm just a voyager, you know. I'm just an interloper. Um, I'm not of them. I'm not of that world. But anyways, so yeah, those are my associations with Protestantism and Catholicism. And when you think about a Protestant church, this is what comes to my mind. Should I bring up images? Okay, I'm gonna bring up images to make this more interesting. Let me open my Google Photos. Let's look up church. So, okay, I want to find a specific picture. Oh, okay. I don't want to. I'll pause this if it takes me too long to find this. I think I took the picture in November, like during the one of the first like nice snowy nights. Let's see, November. It's probably later November. Yeah, because the first snow was November 9th, I think. Oh man, I miss winter so much. Okay, here's the picture that I wanted to find. So this is like a church in okay, one second. I'm looking up too much stuff in this. I'm being fake in this. I'm looking up townships in Geauga County because they're kind of, a lot of them are kind of the same, and I don't remember which one this is. It might have been Munson or Chester. This is a church in one of those places. And let's look at this. This is to me what an ideal Protestant church is. And I just want to bring the snow in because it makes it more beautiful. It's kind of this, it's beautiful in its simplicity. We don't need to see like ornate, like stained glass to see God. We don't. We can be humble. We can be down to earth. But one thing I do want to say is, while this is just gorgeous to me, at least, I think that's just beautiful, an amazing aesthetic. Unfortunately, many Protestant churches in America do not look like that. I'm going to show you. Let's see. Do I have to get Google Street View image of this? Oh man, because there's an image on Google Images, but it's not that good. So I'm gonna look at Street View really quick. It's over here. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is like a good enough image. I'm gonna have to screenshot it. This is the church that I went to when I was younger. I went here until I was like 7 because my grandmother, wanted church-going grandchildren. This is what most Protestant churches look like in America. And this is hideous. It's hideous. Look, this is a terrible building. The inside of it is like fine, I guess, but it is, man, this is just terrible. And so that is an issue, but the archetype in my mind is still this, maybe just because I see Protestantism through like rose-colored glasses, hence why I put it as the ... meaning I actually consider it to be there, like in my heart. But then let's pull up like the Catholic churches. So I went to Europe one time. I know, isn't that cool? And we saw it was like a school trip thing, and I saw a lot of cathedrals. I'll put some images here. So this is in Cologne, the Cologne Cathedral, of course, is beautiful. I won't deny it. This is I took a picture of like the side and the tiling on the roof of this church in like the middle of Vienna. And let's see if I can find like a picture of one from like the inside. Okay, I don't remember exactly where this one is. My apologies. We saw a lot of stuff. But this is like the inside of it. So they are beautiful. I'm not gonna deny this. They're incredible. They're miracles. To me, it's a miracle that someone has the patience to do this, because I don't even have the patience to like draw buildings in much detail at all. Like I might have an instance of a time I drew. No, I don't have an instance of it. Because one time I did like draw one of the buildings on Main Street, Ravenna. I drew one of the Riddle Block buildings. But it's just whatever. Okay, I see how these are beautiful. Why was I talking about this to begin with? Oh, yeah. I see how these are beautiful, but if you are not able to appreciate simplicity and humility and whatever, you might be a child, or you might live in a Disney movie. If you need this to be, I don't know if that's mean to say, but anyway, so the archetype here is like, to me, this is very like assimilist. Is that a word? I don't know. This is very assimilation core. I imagine a bunch of people, you know, like we were here on, was it Palm Sunday in Cologne? And like, man, so many people were there. I think cathedrals, I think it's just a lot more, I don't know. Maybe I'm mischaracterizing them. But to me, it's a lot more of an assimilist type thing, which could be beautiful to some people. Like that could be a beautiful, like the collective spirit of like humanity's like coming together, because you know, like we're all the same or whatever. Like it's kind of like a lysergic thing, you know, like we're all the same. But that's a good song by the Millennium. What is it called? Like it might be called "We're All the Same." That's a great album. Begin, but. That's what I imagine here. And here, it's kind of like, what I imagine is like, this is in like Nebraska, and it's just like, you know, people come and they're kind of quiet, like some random farmer. He's like a widower or whatever. He comes and he sits in the back. Maybe I have like a fantastical image of what Protestantism is, because the image of this is like, it's not this, but it's not like between the two. It's something different. It's just like something, it's something bad. It's a bad aesthetic, and I feel bad because I'm pretty sure that my grandparents, like, I don't know if they helped design this building, but they at least helped to like create it. So I'm sorry to my grandpa who worked on that building, but so that's kind of what I'm talking about here, which with the Protestantism encouraging the individuality in like implicit ways, mostly. Okay. The next, how long is this video already? Oh my goodness, it's almost 50 minutes. And I haven't even gotten to the pros. Okay. I'm gonna have to make a cons and pros video separately. So we're almost done with the cons, I think. Lower population density is kind of the same thing. You don't have the close-knit communities. I'll just go quick here. And then the car dependency. The car promotes individuality versus the you know, like the train or the subway or the tram or the bus, which are more like communal. When I've been on like a subway train twice, once in Boston and once in Vienna, and it was just an uncomfortable experience for me. Similarly, like to a plane, I've also, both the Boston and Vienna trips, those are my two plane trips. I am very uncomfortable it makes me very uncomfortable to be in a vehicle with other people and we're all like going to the same place. We don't have control. Part of it is like I want control, but then part of it is just like, why am I on this exact same route as these people? Like, I'm my own person. Why am I doing this? And the Europeans I've talked to don't seem to feel that way. They seem to be maybe comforted by it. So that, and the car dependency, of course, is related to the inequalities, because it gives you, first, there's like now a floor of cost to like have a job in many places, because you have to have the car and the gas, and you have to have the car insurance, you have to have the car payment, whatever that goes into the car, but whatever. And then what it has done is we have like the extensive interstate system and other highway systems in America, and we have the sprawl. The sprawl goes into this, the low population density. It's important enough that I'm going to write it, though. Will it fit? It'll have to be smaller. Oh, why does it always do that? Sprawl. Sprawl is disgusting. Oh, I hate suburbia and I hate sprawl. But because of this, like, jobs have been able to move out of like small towns and into bigger towns where people drive to work there. And then the people in the smaller towns like struggle to find the jobs in their towns, and it kind of kills industry, and all this stuff is bad. So I'm gonna cut this off here. I'm gonna upload both of these videos like tonight. Tonight being glorious day of May 20th. I don't know why it's glorious. It's just any other day. But the weather today was incredible. It was a high of 55 and cloudy, windy, rainy. Isn't that lovely? Because we had 3 days in a row where it was over 80. And, God is good. He gave us good weather today. Always appreciate the cloudy, the cloudy kind of chilly days in May or whatever. You've gotta go and just be a little bit cold. I went to West Branch, and I was just I just had to be a little bit cold by the water. So anyways, okay, that's done with this video, and yeah, I will start this uploading, and then I'll make the next one. To all my diligent fans who watch all of my videos in their entirety, do not fret. The next video is coming, and it's going to be better. It's going to be more, and it's going to be more entertaining, because this is just kind of like, America Bad it's overdone. We all know it. So the pros are going to be a lot more interesting. Oh, and by the way, I put this, if you don't know, The Royal Scam is an album by Steely Dan, one of their best. It was their 5th album in 1976. Donald and Walter, one of them, said has the worst album cover of the 70s, bar none, except perhaps Can't Buy a Thrill, which is their first album. So they think they have like the 2 worst album covers of the 70s. They're deluded, because the Royal Scam album cover isn't that bad. But anyways, the song The Royal Scam is the final song on the album, and it's about like Caribbean immigrants coming to New York City, because they've heard this narrative of like, in America you can actually pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and they'll be able to make money and stuff. But then they find like, that's not how it works. The American dream is fake, and also like people hate them. So that's what the Royal Scam is. And the last part, the American dream, yeah, it is fake. You're just working hard is not enough to have your white picket fence. Being a hard worker and being smart, it doesn't really matter. It's mostly where you were born and who you were born and who your parents are. So, okay. Bye.